Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World. How you guys doing? This is another video in a series I like to call Stupid Things That People Say. And this is Stupid Things People Say, Paid Protesters. So, there's this conspiracy theory that goes in right-wing circles among Republicans and, conservatives and the like. And this idea that all these protests you see out there, from the left and college students and the like, when they go and they protest, this, for example, the tax day protests or the Women's March, or whenever somebody like, Milo Yiannopoulos or something goes to a college and wants to speak, and all the protesters come out to like prevent him because, hate speech and shit like that. And it's this idea that they're all paid. And it's usually like some evil liberal supervillain like George Soros or something is just paying all these people, and thus the whole movement is phony. And in real life, none of these people even really give a shit about it, and it's all manufactured. And that entire thing is complete bullshit, But it's the belief is like pretty widespread in right-wing circles, So, this past April 15th, right, we had these big tax day protests out there in Washington and in various countries, cities around the country, of people who were protesting the fact that Donald Trump has not released his tax returns, right? And, so that was a very big event, thousands of people were out there. And Trump responded via tweet, like he usually does, and said the following about this. Someone should look into who paid for the small organized rallies yesterday. The election is over. Right? That's what he said. He thinks all those people were paid, Also in Breitbart has run articles claiming that George Soros is paying and organizing the tax day protests. And they've also claimed protests at UC Berkeley were paid. And also a right-wing newspaper called the National Review online claimed that the Dakota Access Pipeline protesters are paid, and so on and so forth. There's lots of examples of this. It doesn't take a lot of searching to find examples of the paid protester myth out there in wacky Republican conservative land. Something I found is when I try to read up on these claims from various right-wingers and such, and Trump supporters and that kind of thing, and, once in a while they'll post something, they'll post an article or whatever saying it's evidence, and, here's evidence that George Soros is paying for all of this and that kind of thing. And it seems to me that they're confusing organizing a rally with paying people to actually be at the rally, which are completely two different things. Because the truth is that there are organizations out there that organize these protests. Things like MoveOn.org, for example, had a hand in organizing the tax day protests. They weren't the only ones, but, they helped put some of it together. It helped bring people, right? And it is true that organizations like MoveOn.org, for example, have paid staff members. They're an organization. They have people that work there full time, right? That's different than paying people to go to your protest and hold signs and chant slogans, right? Paying some guy as whose job it is to organize things like this is not the same thing as bussing in a group of people and then paying them all $100 a day in order to go protest, Donald Trump. Those are not the same thing. And it seems like every time I see anybody try to post something, like on Reddit or something, for example, where they like try to claim that these protesters are being paid at XYZ protest, and then they say George Soros is funding it, this is the kind of thing that they come up with. They go, well, it was organized by this group, and it's like, well, yeah, of course they were organized by that group, but are they paying the people to actually come to the protest? Do you have proof of that? And that's the thing. It's like, the accusation is that these organizations are paying the actual protesters, and otherwise the people wouldn't give a shit and the whole thing is phony. But, there's zero evidence of that actually occurring. Now the funny thing is that there actually is evidence of the GOP and conservative groups and Tea Party groups and stuff paying actors to come protest for them. You know, a story came out in the Arizona Republic that the GOP paid actors $25 a head to go and disrupt Democratic town halls, you know. And there's like an advertisement saying, we'll cover the cost, $25, right? And then another example, in Florida, the Tea Party of Miami, along with another group called the Florida Citizens Against Waste, right? And there were like these two Tea Party groups, paid protesters $75 each to go protest at the, it was the South Florida Water Management District, right? And what was going on was that there was a proposal to buy up a bunch of land, right, in order to turn it into like a, you know, conservation area in order to cut down on pollution. And it turns out that the whole thing was like put together by sugar companies who were like using these fucking Tea Party groups to pay people to come protest it. It's like, it was, you know, astroturfing is what they call that, right? In fact, a lot of the Tea Party stuff that we saw that come out in 2008 and 2009 in reaction to, you know, a black man being in the White House, a lot of that was straight up astroturfing, right? A lot of, they didn't even hide it. So, you know, it's just, the truth is that this whole conspiracy theory, it's just another bullshit projection from the right wing. It's an attempt to delegitimize real, authentic grassroots movements by accusing them of the exact same shit that they did, right? And that's the thing that you got to remember when it comes to conservatives, is that they're always, you know, they project, right? Every time, everything that they blame Democrats and liberals of doing, they're the ones who are actually doing it themselves, you know. The same way that they complain about, you know, corruption in government, and then, like, the first day of the new Congress, they get caught trying to, like, you know, remove House ethic rules. You know, I don't know if you guys remember that. You know, that was the very first act that the new GOP House wanted to do, was to remove all of the ethics rules. It's like, well, you know, complete bullshit. Or the other fact that, like, you know, it's always like the anti-gay, like, Republicans and stuff are always the ones who get caught in fucking, like, airport restrooms trying to solicit fucking male prostitutes. You know, it's complete bullshit. It's projection and it's bullshit. And, you know, anytime you hear somebody say that, just tell them to fucking, I don't know, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous bullshit. Anyway, adios, folks.